Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Any chance I have to talk about water, I just love it. I could go on all night if you let me. I know I can't. I was told about 30 to 40 minutes, but I really believe that the water in Calaveras County could trump the Godfather series. We can do several 3 to 4 hour movies on it. Again, my name is Kelly Gerkensmeyer. I work with the Calaveras County Water District. Next month, I will be starting my 24th year there. I'm really proud of that. It's been a wonderful career. I spent most of my time there working out in the field, fixing hydrants, fixing pipelines. I had the pleasure of working with Mr. Joe Darby right there, walking down the aisle there. I now have the pleasure of working with Haley Arola as well, and every time I think of her last name, I just recently got married up on Hiram Peak, and in all my wedding photos is Arola Peak. And so every time I see her, I can't help think about that. So that's an honor. I haven't been to the top of that peak yet, but I will hopefully this summer. So let's get started. There's so much that I can talk about here as far as the different water from the different areas of our county. West Point's ditch systems, at one point Jenny Lind was called Dry Town because there really wasn't any water there. Copperopolis, the Ebbets Pass area, and San Andreas and CCWD service area. But obviously I can't talk about all that, so I had to pick my favorite. And it's going to be really the story of Calaveras County Water District, how it became the water district, and a little bit about a project that really shaped all of Calaveras County. So water has long been a cornerstone in the development of Calaveras County. From the early days of mining, complex ditch systems were engineered to divert water to the diggings, facilitating not only the extraction of precious resources, but also the establishment of camps and towns that became the heart of the county. These pioneering hydraulic technologies played a crucial role in shaping the county's growth. As mining thrived, so did the logging industry, which was deeply dependent on the county's abundant water resources. Water was vital for the powering of the sawmills and for supplying timber to construct the flumes and stabilize the mines. The synergy between water and industry propelled the county's economic expansion and played a key role in establishing Calaveras County's identity. The rise of hydraulic power also marked an important chapter in the county's history. These early hydroelectric projects signified the beginning of a new era, where water became not just a tool for industry, but also a driver for the future. As time passed, both local and outside stakeholders increasingly acknowledged the immense potential of the county's water resources. Our story really starts at Clark's Flat. Originally settled in 1850, Clark's Flat remained a remote area until its present development as the Coyerville power plant site. While working with a survey crew to locate the Stanislaus powerhouse, the Clark family decided to settle there in 1906. The nearest neighbor to the Clarks was Isaac T. Coyer, who had the Coyer quartz mine. Here's a shot of Old Spicer that I just love, and I always call it Old Spicer, but I'm pretty sure back then it was just called Spicer, but for whatever reason today we call it Old Spicer. After the Hunters Reservoir was completed in 1927, a new dam, Spicer, was built right on Highland Creek, and it was completed in 1929. A 1927 report initiated because of the Spicer Dam project proposed a powerhouse designated as the Coyerville Project. This report sat idle for nearly 2 decades. The late Senator Jesse Mayo of Angels Camp, a Republican politician and newspaper editor, was pivotal in urging the county to protect its water rights before they could be claimed by distant cities or the government. Senator Mayo was the editor and owner of the Calaveras, California newspaper. As a state senator representing Calaveras County, Mayo played a crucial role in advancing water-related legislation. And in 1945, he championed a water reservation plan that sought to allocate 15% of the available water to the upland counties, including Calaveras, to support local development. This proposal was part of a broader conversation that led to the passage of the California Water Resource Act of 1945. On October 12th of 1945, at a meeting of the Calaveras Grange, the then master of the Grange, Mr. Neil Christensen, appointed members Bud Spence, Frank Hood, and Vernon Campbell as a committee of 3 to investigate the water resources of Calaveras County and to render a report to the Grange upon its findings. The committee continued its investigations for 6 months, reporting its findings at each semi-monthly meeting of the Calaveras Grange until the following April, when the Grange enlarged the committee to 11 members and instructed it to proceed with the organization of the county-wide water district. The Calaveras County Water District thereupon became a Grange project. Meetings were held by Grange representatives throughout the county to put the matter before the people, and before a special election was held, upon a motion by Mr. Frank Hood, the Grange instructed the committee to mail a statement of petitions of the Grange upon this matter to each and every voter of the county. That statement read, "The Congress was recently authorized the construction of large, low-altitude dams on the Calaveras and Stanislaus rivers, which will impound all the annual flows of the streams. The water is to be used by cities and lands below us. The water required for the growth of our towns and villages and the improvement of our farms will be permanently lost forever. Much of the water originating in our county has already been appropriated by the areas below. The people of Calaveras County will forever be deprived of the use of any of the yet unappropriated waters of these streams unless immediate steps are taken to prevent these plans being carried forward." This organization, realizing that quick action was necessary if the priceless water resources yet remaining were to be saved for us, has taken steps required to bring this matter to the attention of every voter. State and federal authorities advised that we must organize a water district to provide a legal agency authorized by law to appropriate and retain these waters. When organized, the district may then apply for state and federal aid and for the construction of storage and distribution facilities. No bond issues or tax levies are suggested or recommended or be supported by this organization. This is without question the most vital and important decision our people will ever be called upon to make, affecting the growth and prosperity of our county. We urge you to vote yes for the adoption of the proposition to organize the Calaveras County Water District. And on August 27th of 1946, 97% of the voting population decided to form the Calaveras County Water District under the provisions of an act of the state legislature entitled the County Water District Act. On that same ballot, too, was also for the first hospital of the county. So those were the two ballot measures on that particular, at that particular time. The district was formed for the purpose of assisting residents of Calaveras County in establishing and protecting their water resources on November 5th, 1946. And the first board of directors also elected on that same day. The first resolution adopted in 1947 by the first seated board was to pursue the filing of applications on the North Fork Stanislaus River, the Calaveras, and the McCollum rivers for the diversions and application of water. This effort was the first of many years of an effort in the planning and development of water supplies, which continues to be today and will be needed in the future. During the 1950s, CCWD really started to conceptualize water development projects throughout the county. In 1953, CCWD requested that the state of California assign all rights that it had acquired to the McCollum River water to preserve its availability for the use in Calaveras County. At this time, East Bay Mud was trying to appropriate the McCollum water for their own municipal use, stating its purpose was a priority over Calaveras County irrigation rights. Simultaneously, CCWD initiated the development of the North Fork Stanislaus River hydroelectric project. George Hubbardy, a fifth-generation Calaveras County resident and CCWD General Counsel was instrumental in securing Calaveras County's water rights. He successfully negotiated a settlement with East Bay Mud, securing $2 million and preserving water rights to 27,000 acre-feet of water for the citizens of Calaveras County. In addition, Mr. Hubbardie negotiated crucial property easements, which were the backbone of the North Fork Stanislaus River hydroelectric project. Every time I say that, that's a really long one to say. So if I fumble it, there's a lot going on there. I apologize, we did try to get some of the blur out of this when we got ready for the show. We weren't really successful, as you can see, but I'll zoom in on this map here in a minute. So, with the generation of funds and secured water rights, CCWD was able to move forward with water resource development planning in Calaveras County. The district engaged Tudor Engineering to prepare a comprehensive water development plan of the Calaveras County's water resources. In 1959, preliminary reports and plans were submitted, demonstrating the plan's feasibility. And in August of 1961, Tudor Engineering submitted the final feasibility report and plan for the Calaveras County Water Resources Development. The plan was a multi-purpose plan, aiming to expand the county's agricultural areas, develop recreational facilities, supply adequate domestic water service, and the development of hydropower. And like I said, I absolutely love this map, and so I had to just zoom in quite a bit and really check it out. So we'll start up at the top, and starting up at the top, the plan was to enlarge Old Spicer, also build a larger reservoir called Gans Reservoir. There was going to be 3 separate tunnels and two power plants just on the upper portions of the Stanislaus River. Midway down the Stanislaus River, there was going to be a huge reservoir, essentially at Board's Crossing. There was going to be 2 separate Beaver Creek diversions and 2 more power plants at that location. Also, at that midway point, that's where different conduits and canals were going to move water into the central portions of Calaveras County, primarily for agricultural uses. And then there was the 11,000 acre-foot Forest Middle Fork Reservoir, which would have been on the Middle Fork of the McCallamy, right below Shadd's Reservoir. And then the Salt Springs Pipeline and the Black Creek Reservoir. Note also that this map here was before New Maloney's was even completed. So this was still before, I'm not sure if construction even quite started yet. This is when it was still in the planning phases. The 1960s were marked by extensive water resource planning efforts. In 1963, the first power license was filed for the North Fork Stanislaus River hydroelectric project, and concurrently, TCWD in Tuolumne County filed an application opposing ours. During those years, TCWD, OID, SSJID, they all opposed the North Fork Stanislaus developments, while Stockton East and the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation opposed our Calaveras River projects. Their opposition stemmed from plans to divert or develop these water resources for their own use. For example, TCWD wanted to divert the North Fork Stanislaus River down the Middle Fork, serving Tuolumne County. And so, if you can see, right over here is where the project is now. It would have taken water from Spicer, put it over to Donnell's, and gone that way. So it would have completely bypassed the section that we see today. So where are we at here? So here's that closer look. In 1963, the Water Rights Board ruled in our favor for CCWD on all applications for the North Fork Stanislaus. The decision was appealed, and CCWD was sued by TCWD. And in August of 1965, the Water Board again ruled in Calaveras County Water District's favor. And by November of 1965, TCWD entered into an agreement with CCWD, withdrew its objections, and urged the FPC to grant the license to CCWD, which it did in 1966. Throughout the inception of the project, PG&E continually expressed its interest in the purchasing of the entire hydroelectric power output. However, PG&E changed its position with respect to any power purchase agreements in the mid-60s. CCWD began discussions in search of other power purchase options. Discussions were held with SMUD, Tridam, Dow Chemicals, and then NCPA. In 1975, the district took on the effort of amending their application for the FPC, which is now at this point called FERC, which required the preparation of an environmental impact report to comply with the new laws, reports that were not required in the early days of this project. The conclusion was a revised application filed with FERC in 1975. The revised map still proposed a significant amount of Stanislaus River water moving to the Calaveras watershed in the central part of the county, as well as still constructing that Forest Middle Fork Reservoir just below Shads on the McCallamy, and again, still Salt Springs Pipeline and the Black Creek Reservoir, all still contemplated on those original 1960s plan. Up at Spicer, to avoid flooding Gabbett Meadow, it was contemplated to reduce the capacity to 52,000 acre feet. The current reservoir is 189,000 acre feet. So to reduce the reservoir that much, we would have had to enlarge Union and Utica. And we would have had to enlarge it to 66,000 acre feet. Currently combined, Union and Utica are maybe 6,000. So if you can picture those two awesome little lakes with all the islands, this would have raised Union Reservoir by 10 feet and Utica by 41 feet, essentially making one large reservoir. It's hard to imagine that. Every time I go out camping and I'm on an island, I think about this slide and realize this island might not have been here. But they're there now. And constructing and increasing the Boards Reservoir to 200,000 acre feet. So where Boards Crossing is now, it was proposed to have, since the upper reservoirs would have been much smaller, there would have been a need for a larger reservoir at Boards Crossing. Again, these never were built. These were just contemplated in that 1975 plan. And here's a great all-employee photo of 1979. I still think about all the work that's been done, and it's remarkable what a small organization we were, and to think of all that was accomplished. I'm honored to say that I've worked at CCWD long enough to have worked with some of these folks, such as Kelly Duke, Jerry Porth, and Roger Messersmith. I remember these guys were the OGs when I first started working there, and I really looked up to them. And then there's Steve Felty. Steve was our GM from 1975 to 1996, and he was an instrumental leader at CCWD. We're currently working with Steve to this day, and he is helping us with the incredibly enormous work effort to relicense the North Fork project, a project that he successfully saw to the finish line. I would like to take a moment to read a portion of a 1978 resolution once the agreement was in place to construct the North Fork Stanislaus River hydroelectric project. The intent of the Board of Directors of the Calaveras County Water District is to disperse and utilize the funds equally within the county to encourage and develop the water resources locally for the benefit of the people of Calaveras County and its future generations. The construction of the new 260-foot Spicer Dam began in 1985 with the construction of a sophisticated concrete structure called the plinth. Essentially, that's the waterproof seal between the existing granite rock and the concrete face of the rock-filled dam. There were 4 quarries just upstream of the dam site that produced 2.4 million cubic yards of shot rock and 600,000 tons of processed rock. The rock fill operation at their peak placed an average of 12,000 cubic yards per day. Concrete was batched on site using locally manufactured aggregate, imported sand, and then transported to the dam. The average placing rate ranged from 30 cubic yards per hour initially, and then increased to over 60 cubic yards per hour at the later stages of the operation. The upper and lower power tunnels were excavated by using a tunnel boring machine, also known as a TBM. The Robbins TBM was shipped on 15 truckloads over a period of 8 days in December of 1985. The machine assembly took over 2 weeks to complete. To complete the 8-mile, 18-foot diameter tunnel, the TBM worked 3 shifts per day, 5 days a week, with a single shift on Saturdays for maintenance between 1986 and 1987. A rail car system was also installed behind the TBM to transport the muck out of the tunnel. The TBM averaged 105 feet per day, and its best performance in the upper tunnel was 216 feet in a 16-hour working day. The lower 14-foot tunnel was completed in 1986, and the machine was backed out of the tunnel under its own power in 5 days. On completion of the lower tunnel, this machine was disassembled and moved to the North Fork Tunnel site to drill the 2-mile, 12-foot tunnel from the North Fork diversion to the New Spicer Reservoir. Here you see the McKay's Dam site and the upper Utica ditch before the reservoir was built. At the McKay's Dam site, the upper Utica ditch traversed along the right abutment of the future dam site. This alignment interfered with McKay's Point Dam construction. Therefore, a temporary diversion tunnel was constructed. The diversion tunnel was excavated using drilling and blasting methods and was largely unlined. It was a horseshoe shape, about 6.5 feet wide, 6 feet tall, roughly 900 to 1,000 feet long. At the same time, below that tunnel, they were digging another tunnel to divert the Stanislaus River around that site as well. And it still amazes me just the amount of construction, bypasses, and tunnels that were created just for the main parts of the project to be constructed. After McKay's Reservoir was partially filled and the tunnel primed, the Utica Ditch Bypass Tunnel was successfully plugged in September of 1989, and the use of the upper Utica Ditch flume between the Utica Diversion Dam and Mill Creek was discontinued. Here's a brief schematic of the project. The North Fork Diversion Dam, this starts at the very top, so the North Fork Diversion Dam is immediately downstream of the confluence of Silver and Duck Creeks. The North Fork Diversion Tunnel leading to Spicer Meadow Reservoir. The New Spicer Meadow Dam immediately downstream on Highland Creek. The New Spicer Meadow Powerhouse on the outlet of the Spicer Dam. And then we have the McKay's Point Diversion Dam on the middle fork of the Stanislaus. That's right by McKay's Point. And then we have the Beaver Creek Diversion Dam on Beaver Creek downstream of Big Trees State Park, diverting water through a tunnel and penstock over to McKay's Point Reservoir. And then we have the Coyerville Tunnel from McKay's Point Reservoir to the Coyerville Powerhouse down at Clark's Flat. Here is a look at the alignment of the North Fork Diversion Tunnel. It takes water from Union, Utica, and Alpine and dumps it into Hobart Creek, which flows into Spicer. And yes, that 12-foot diameter tunnel does go under 3 legs of Utica Reservoir. Here is a look at how the water gets from Beaver Creek over to McKay's. It's a wonderful site. A couple years ago, when I got some of this footage, it was after those big storms, and it was just churning that entire reservoir from the force of the water coming out of that tunnel. It was a sight to see. And then we have a look at the Coyerville Tunnel. Notice that the tunnel tap, which is how Hunter's Reservoir, which feeds what we call the Ebbets Pass area, which is essentially forest meadows, all the way up to Big Trees. That's where our treatment plant is there at the Hunter's Reservoir. And the Utica Flume also gets its water from that tunnel tap. And a little fun fact about that surge shaft, when they drilled the initial pilot for that, they hit their mark within 2 feet of accuracy. And again, that's a 2,000-foot tunnel. They were, I think it actually was 11 inches. It was very, very close, and I think that's very impressive. There are countless incredible individuals who have played a vital role in Calaveras County, CCWD, and the North Fork Project. I truly wish I could take the time and properly honor each and every one of them. However, for tonight's presentation, I want to take a moment to pay a special tribute to someone whose contributions were instrumental to both CCWD and Calaveras County. So I would like to read a resolution in remembrance and appreciation of the commitment and dedication of Raymond Nielsen, CCWD board member from 1978 to 1997. So again, this is the resolution from CCWD. Raymond E. Nielsen, Ray, a lifelong resident of Calaveras County whose timeless efforts and endless dedication to improve the county has time and time again brought many benefits to the district and to the county. This board wishes to acknowledge some of the many benefits and values that Ray gave to the district and to the county. Ray always carried a vision with him to improve the county by developing and putting to use the county's great water resources. A strong supporter of agricultural and commercial development, Ray looked to a growing economy and saw the critical role of water, often saying, "We must find a use for our water before it is lost." Ray's extensive knowledge of construction was ever present as the district undertook projects from paving a driveway to the North Fork Stanislaus hydroelectric project. When problems arose, it was Ray's counsel to seek solutions. Ray's experience as a businessman, rancher, lifelong resident, and individual committed to the betterment of Calaveras County always surfaced during the debate and consideration of each effort the district undertook. He often stated, "If we don't improve and move forward, we will surely move backwards and soon collapse." Ray's commitment of his time was endless and timeless. Be it during the night, weekends, during his own busy workday, there was always time to discuss and solve a problem. Ray's wife, Isabel, supported, organized, and encouraged Ray's efforts, and we wish to express to her our gratitude and appreciation. Ray, a gentleman in every respect, never had a negative comment about an individual and would generally say, "That isn't right," and begin an effort to correct the problem, often with substantial personal effort. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this board, by this resolution, wishes to express its greatest appreciation of Ray's 13 years of dedication, commitment to serving the people of Calaveras County as the Director of District 1 of the Calaveras County Water District. He will be missed by all. Further resolved that this board does hereby direct that the Coyerville Tunnel be hereafter renamed the Nielsen Tunnel in recognition of two of Ray's greatest interests, mining and water. So, a little note on that Nielsen Tunnel. I was tipped off about this, potentially this resolution, or that it was going to be renamed, and we never really found any information, and I dug and dug and dug until I found this resolution, and so we never officially adopted this, but it's something we're working on. So I was really, really honored to find this resolution, and hopefully we can make that happen. Since our founding in 1946 by the citizens of Calaveras County, CCWD has remained steady in our mission to preserve, protect, and enhance our precious water resources. This mission is not just what we do, it defines who we are as a community. The North Fork Project stands as a testament to that identity. It represents years of vision, collaboration, and dedication. After decades of planning, perseverance, and hard work, the North Fork Stanislaus River Hydroelectric Project was completed in 1990. This project is more than infrastructure. It's a legacy, a symbol of what we can achieve when we come together with purpose and resolve. It reminds us that our collective efforts today will shape the future of our community for generations to come. Thank you. So that's all I have for you tonight. Like I said, there's several other chapters. Maybe you guys will invite me back and I can, present on some other portions of the county and our great water resources. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.